Very good evening and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zondi. Today we have information on MTN's opposition to the Vodacom acquisition of Neotel. We have information of why a lot of people were angry at Zelda Lachrance's tweets yesterday. We'll also tell you about a new solar power plant that will be built in the Northern Cape. During our discussion, we'll talk about the legalities of operating drones in South Africa. We are live, so find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za on email. Let's start with your social media and technology news. Vodacom has offered 7 billion rand to buy 100% control of Neotel, including its spectrum licenses. However, MTN has expressed its unhappiness about the transaction. If MTN gets its way, then Vodacom would not acquire Neotel.
Cell phone giant MTN has told communications regulator ICASA to block Vodacom's proposal to acquire Neotel. During the oral public hearing, MTN told ICASA that the deal would give the country's largest mobile operator an unfair advantage. And if the deal proceeds, Vodacom would get access to spectrum that could be used to deploy next-generation 4G LTE networks. In its written submission to ICASA, MTN says it is opposed to the application of the deal, citing two reasons. The first is that the frequency spectrum currently assigned to Neotel is a public asset. The acquisition price for the Neotel share capital embeds a significant premium relating to this spectrum portfolio. And the second being that while consumers will likely benefit from the earlier and wider availability of LTE through this process, ICASA must be concerned about the competitive impact of providing an already dominant player with such a structural and timing advantage over its competitors, thus giving it the opportunity to entrench its dominance even further. MTN is not the only company unhappy with the acquisition. Cell C also aired its discontentment, accusing Vodacom of using reverse engineering. They also warned that the deal would lessen competition in the ICT sector. ICASA will look at all the parties' views before taking a decision whether to grant Vodacom its wishes or not.
The former PA to former late South African President Nelson Mandela spent much of yesterday trying to fight off the anger of black South Africans on Twitter. Some accused Lachranze of being racist. In her tweets, she had said F.W. de Klerk could have stayed as president if he wanted and wasn't compelled to leave. She then said she feels the white South Africans are constantly brutalized. After many people criticized her, Lachranze then issued a 14-point apology on Twitter.
Who worked as a PA to former late President Nelson Mandela, Zelda Lachranze has changed her name on Twitter to Zelda van Riebeeck. Van Riebeeck was one of the first white men to arrive in South Africa. Under apartheid, South African history taught in schools said everything here began with his arrival. In one of her tweets, she said, "Oh, I'm going to ask President Hollande if he wants me, because the organization that praises Mugabe but condemns de Klerk doesn't want us in SA." She then said President F.W. de Klerk could have stayed in power. After criticism from black people, she then had tweets apologizing and said her anger was not directed at all black South Africans. She said she was angry at President Jacob Zuma, as she read headlines saying the president had said all trouble began in 1652, when Van Riebeeck landed in the Cape. Lachranze then said maybe she should have added some context before tweeting. Some of the criticism came from radio presenter Reddy Tlabi and newspaper editor Pharrell Haffiji.
Bracing themselves for more power cuts, new technologies are being brought in to help the country meet the energy demands. The Department of Energy recently announced that a new 100 megawatts concentrating solar power plant is to be built in the Northern Cape province. The solar plant will supply electricity to more than 200,000 South African homes.
As part of the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Procurement Program, Department of Energy has granted ACWA Power and Solar Reserve a tender to build solar plant in the Northern Cape. The 100 megawatts facility will be the biggest solar plant in the country and the first of its kind in Africa. Senior Vice President of Solar Reserve, Alistair Jesop, says this project will be cheaper than building a coal power plant.
There's no fuel price risk because the sun's energy is free and therefore, there's no, if the price of coal goes up or if the price of oil goes up, that doesn't affect the price at which we generate.
It uses technology called concentrated solar power, which converts sun rays into electrolytes. These electrolytes are used as direct electricity and can last up to 12 hours. But Jesop says this project will take about 3 years to be completed before operations.
There's a new video of brutality that is doing the rounds in social media. A woman wearing a miniskirt is harassed by a huge group of men in a Zimbabwean taxi rank. On several occasions, the video shows the men lifting the woman's skirt to expose her underwear, and they block her from getting away as they harass her. Tonight, we're asking why Africans use their gadgets to record such videos and then share them with others or in social media. Just a warning that you might find some of these visuals disturbing. This video is currently doing the rounds all over Africa as people share it on their mobile devices. It was clearly taken with someone's mobile phone. The video shows a group of men exposing a woman's undergarments because she is in a miniskirt in a taxi rank in Zimbabwe. As they do this, they prevent her from getting away until two men help her get into a taxi and close the door. The video that did the rounds last year was of this nanny in Uganda. Jolie Tomuhire slaps a toddler she's supposed to be taking care of and even steps on the child when she refuses to eat. 2 years ago, there was this one. Police in Daveyton, east of Johannesburg, dragging a taxi driver they had tied to the back of their van. It emerged that the driver, Mido Masia, died from the incident. Analysts say such cruelty and brutality is being exposed now because people have a mobile phone that takes video.
It's given an average African too much power in their hands to say, hey, if I cannot talk to the state directly, if I cannot comment on media like I would have in other Western societies where you can pick up the phone and call media and comment, then I can actually do it on my own phone.
Once on the phone, people then see the need to share it with others by sending it through the mobile phone or tablet. Africans do this for various reasons.
I have something that comes to me, I want to show the world that I'm the first person to actually see it, so I send it around to my friends.
I don't really think it's a matter of sharing it because it's a cool thing, but it's a matter of sharing it so that we raise awareness and get the community involved.
Because of the circulation of the video, in 2013, South African police that dragged Masia behind a van until he died were suspended and charged with murder. In December 2014, the Ugandan nanny Jolie Tomuhire was sentenced to 4 years in prison.
A lot of authorities have acted simply because they felt under pressure and that the public is watching them.
Without smartphones and other devices that can take and share videos, less people would probably get justice. And this shows that a smartphone serves as more than just a tool to make calls, text messages, and take vanity selfies for social media. Britain and the United States have announced that they will increase cooperation on cybersecurity. The two countries are setting up what they call cyber cells to share intelligence and conduct simulated attacks to test the defenses of organizations such as banks. This is after major hackings of film studios as well as those of Twitter accounts of government agencies.
Last month, film studio Sony was hacked with top management emails leaked. Now, American President Barack Obama has mentioned that social media accounts of important organs of state have also been infiltrated.
Just yesterday, we saw the hack of a military Twitter account and YouTube channel. No military operations were impacted. So far, it appears that no classified information was released, but the investigation is ongoing, and it's a reminder that cyber threats are an urgent and growing danger.
As a result of such occurrences, America is now looking into tightening cybersecurity laws.
First, we're proposing new cybersecurity legislation to promote the greater information sharing we need between government and the private sector. This builds and improves upon the legislation that we've put forward in the past. It reflects years of extensive discussions with industry. It includes liability protections for companies that share information on cyber threats. It includes essential safeguards to ensure that government protects privacy and civil liberties, even as we're doing our job of safeguarding America's critical information networks.
Some of the information shared will be between America and Britain. British Prime Minister David Cameron says the eavesdropping agency of his country's government communications headquarters will work with America's National Security Agency in this. The exercises to test cyber threats in order to beef up security will involve the Bank of England and commercial banks in London and New York. Obama also says that he is in favor of new powers of law enforcement to investigate and prosecute cybercrime.
After the break, we'll find out a bit more about South Africa's new digital classrooms. It's SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter, News Network at sabc.co.za, and email. Stay with us.
You can't have a gut feeling about other people's gut feeling.
Ngaba has continued the tradition of passing stories onto the next generation using a platform that offers stories to a far more greater audience.
Zombie no go unless you tell them to go.
This is what the audiences all over the world knew Fela Kuti for.
Join Musam Khalipi on Afro Showbiz every Saturday at 19:30 CAT.
Welcome back. Gauteng's Department of Education had the media world abuzz this week with the launch of the hashtag Wired for Life project. The project included the official opening of the digital classes and the electronic learning system in township schools. The next insert gives us more insight on some of the e-learning portals that will be used to carry out the curriculum.
Learners of the Buitumeleng Secondary School in Tembisa in the East Rand were over the moon to start the new school year with tablets and high-tech digital classrooms.
I feel so good about this thing of e-learning program because it is too more advanced than our textbook.
I feel great about the e-learning because it brings us so much opportunities than before.
I'm very excited, by the way, yeah. E-learning is a huge experience.
An experience made possible by the Gauteng Department of Education with assistance from data solutions and network providers who will be supplying internet connectivity for these tablets.
Nationally, it's CETA, Department of Basic Education as well, that have supported us on this program, as well as two service providers that are providing telecommunication, MTN and Vodacom.
The hashtag Wired for Life project by the GDE is undeniably the right step towards the digital future in South Africa. But one still needs to question the online safety of learners' personal information, especially in these digital times where hackers and cyber criminals alike run haywire.
We have had to locate our content on a localized level, and in that way we know that our content that is on the server is controlled, and we have been able to block sites where learners we would not want them to go. So we have controlled access, and we know which sites we've also allowed learners to go into and not.
A software called Moodle, an open online platform, enables real-time communications between learners and teachers. Teachers will be posting homework and other instructions concerning the lesson on Moodle. Learners will then do their assignments on the digital platform and send it once they're done.
We operate on Moodle and we have on GDE portal. Yes, so we are on that, and it's only that particular portal where our learners will be able to access. Remember, all their textbooks will be on that particular portal, and they will be able to do research on their tablets.
Though a great program, South Africa still has a long way to go until the electronic learning system is perfected.
To give us more insights on effective electronic learning softwares that can be used in South Africa is Michael Goodman. He is from Via Africa, a textbook publishing company that also advocates for the e-learning system. Hello and thank you for being a part of our network, Michael.
Good evening. Thanks very much.
Now, could you just tell us if you think South Africa is ready for e-learning?
South Africa has been doing e-learning for the last while, and I think it's definitely ready for it. I mean, in terms of what we're going to work with in the 21st century, our learners need to be able to be completely computer literate. And that goes beyond just being able to turn a computer on. Being able to work successfully with data is going to be critical. And I think we just need to accept that and move into a system where we're supporting it as much as we can.
You're saying that pupils need to learn to turn more than just to learn more than just turning the computer on, but are teachers adequately trained?
You know, I think it's quite important that we remember that teachers are professional people and they have the opportunity here, for example, in Gauteng, to take on a whole new way of teaching and thinking. We talk about e-learning as though it were just a replacement for the textbook. The textbook's suddenly digital, it's now on a tablet. What we're asking teachers to do is to reconceptualize education in its entirety. And I believe that it's a case where we need to provide the opportunities in initial training, and then trust the fact that we've got people that we trust with our learners to actually develop the skills themselves with a great deal of support going forward. I don't think it's an all or nothing, teachers aren't ready. Teachers need to be helped and assisted wherever they can to become more and more ready, but we need to trust them.
We need to trust them, but do you think that the software that's going to be used is adequate for this?
The software on the tablets that have gone into Gauteng, to the best of my knowledge, is really good software, and it's going to allow multiple learning opportunities. I know, for example, that the content in terms of the e-books, some of it has been provided by Via Africa, and the content that is there is going to be good. What teachers need to be helped with and come to terms with is how to use that more effectively than just reading a textbook under glass as it is. So I think in terms of the systems that they've put in place to protect the security of the kids, the systems of the connectivity are really great. What we're going to have to see is how it goes. I don't think we should be doubting ourselves 3 days into this process. We've got to learn, observe, and see what happens.
One of the criticism has been the level of mathematics in South Africa, and Via Africa has launched TAPTA. Could you just tell us a bit more about what it is and what it does?
Via Africa's TAPTA Maths is a tablet-based maths learning program, and we spoke a moment ago about the software that's required, and what we're offering here is a complete package that allows learners from grade R to grade 6 to develop the skills that they need to be able to perform well at maths. Now, we keep talking about the problems of mathematics at grade 12. Last year we saw yet another decline. But I don't think enough attention's been placed at the early foundation phase and the intermediate phase. So what this tablet learning experience does is it provides learners to work on digital paper, which means that they can actually write on the tablet as though they were writing in a book. They get instant feedback from the computer that marks it. But absolutely incredible to the whole system is that you've got a teacher or a tutor sitting behind the system who's able to see exactly what the learner did in real time, because she can replay the scribbles or the writing, and she can then assign the right work for the child.
All right, Michael Goodman from Via Africa. Thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right, after the break, we'll continue with the network. Stay with us.
Ja, de paar bezig. Kom.
SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. Now, in America, news organizations have been allowed to use drones to shoot some of their stories. Here at home, we are looking at the legality of owning and flying drones. Joining us to talk about this is Subhasha Devkaran, who is a senior manager at the Civil Aviation Authority. Hello, Subhasha, and thank you for being a part of our network.
Sipu Melele, good evening.
Now, could you just tell us about the legalities of owning a drone in South Africa? Can one own a drone?
Certainly, Sipu Melele. Maybe if I could start by explaining a little bit more about this new technology. Government has developed, as you pretty much know, the National Development Plan, which aims to bring an end to poverty by 2030, as well as reduce the levels of inequality in the country. At the Civil Aviation Authority, we see the drone or RPAS technology as the next technological revolution in aviation in South Africa, and it will pretty much change the lives of ordinary South Africans as much as the internet did 25 years ago. Currently, so to this effect, what we have done is we've developed regulations which will permit the operation of this new technology in South Africa.
So can I own a drone if I want one?
You certainly can. Currently, our position as the regulatory body involved with aviation safety and security is that one may possess a drone. There's certainly no laws against it. However, as of present, there are regulations which prevent the operation of any drones. In fact, the terminology drone, if I can expand a little bit, it's been superseded. There's four broad categories of aircraft, and the first is a manned aircraft, the second is a remotely piloted aircraft, which is often called a drone. We also then get model aircraft as well as toy aircraft. With regard to drones, the terminology has been superseded by RPAS, which stands for Remotely Piloted Aircraft Systems. The reason for this is a drone merely refers to one part of a system of a remotely piloted aircraft system, meaning it is just the aircraft which is referenced. However, a remotely piloted aircraft system involves the aircraft itself as well as a ground control station. It cannot operate with either, as well as a C2 link, a command and control link. So one may own a remotely piloted aircraft system. As of today, you will not be able to fly it. However, we have developed regulations. We've developed these regulations in conjunction with industry. These regulations have been through the public day, 30-day public notice or comment period. And we are at a stage where we are finalizing the comments, and our plan is to have implemented these regulations as of the 1st April 2015. That is when you may legally operate an RPAS.
So what sort of license will I need in order for me to fly one?
There are a number of requirements. If you intend to use an RPAS to perform a commercial operation, or to use it in your own corporation, or to perform some sort of non-profit service within RPAS, you would need to make an application to the Civil Aviation Authority. There's a number of documents you would need to apply for. The one is you will need to have a RPAS operator certificate. You'll also need to have a remotely piloted aircraft license. It's similar to a pilot license, except this is specific to remotely piloted aircraft. Your remotely piloted aircraft, or drone as it was previously called, needs to be registered with the South African Civil Aviation Authority. And there is also a RPA letter of approval which you would need from us. There's a number of application forms, and we would obviously review a number of documentation to determine the safety case before we allow such an operation. The reason for that, Sipu Melele, is to ensure that the safety and security of South Africans is prioritized over any commercial interest.
What sort of repercussions are going to be on those that decide to purchase them, fly them, but not get licenses and not register with the Civil Aviation Authority?
We would advise against such transgressors of the regulations or the law, because we see this as a very serious offense. This new technology being introduced in South Africa brings about significant changes to the way the aviation system is currently managed. And if you look at the current aviation system, there does not exist any aircraft in the sky without a pilot on board. Having a pilot on the ground changes the system to some degree, because the pilot on the ground is not aware, they do not have a feel for the air, they cannot see where the aircraft is in real time, and they may not have the necessary experience, they might not have the qualifications. So it follows that in order to ensure our airspace users are still operating their aircraft safely, and in order to ensure our public are still safe on the ground, we have significant fines already within our regulations. One could face up to 10 years imprisonment or up to a fine of R500,000 rands or both.
All right.
As a transgressor.
That sounds quite huge. Will there be regulations on what one can do? We know that in America, for example, news organizations are starting to use them to take some of their visuals. We've heard that Amazon wants to test it for delivery of packages as well, or even delivery of medication in remote areas. In South Africa, do you know if there are going to be regulations of what they can be used for? Is there going to be regulation of what you can use it for?
Certainly. And our approach as the Civil Aviation Authority in the country was to expand the use of this technology to be encompassing of as many entrants into the marketplace as possible and as many types of operations into the marketplace. And to this effect, there will be a whole range of different types of operations. Yes, indeed, one may make movies using an RPS. One may perform some kind of news operations within RPS. One may also deliver certain types of goods using an RPS. However, there are very specific requirements for each of these commercial operations, and one would obviously need to show that they can perform such an operation safely and in terms of the regulations before permission will be granted.
Subhash Davkaran, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
You're welcome.
All right, now that's all we have for you. We leave you with a video of 12,500 high-definition photographs compiled and turned into a stunning video that depicts the time lapse of our planet Earth. This was done by European Space Agency astronaut Alexander Gerst whilst on board the International Space Station. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's News Network at sabc.co.za. On email from Ms. Pamela Lazondi and the rest of the team. Have a good one.